Hello and welcome to the weekly wrap with the USA Liberalists. Today, your hosts are Jordan and Co. So, we're gonna be your favorite YouTube morning show. uh, well, yeah, right. Well, I feel like there's not a lot of early morning YouTube stuff. You know, like there's like the only thing I can think of is Ben Shapiro. Though I guess YouTube you can kind of listen to things whenever you want, but I feel like nobody puts things out early morning. Maybe there's a reason. Well, it's weird for us. But anyway, this week we're going to be talking about the NRA was labeled a terrorist organization. So there is that. Walmart bans ammo and open carry in their stores, as well as some other stuff. Uh, and then apparently Antifa hates the straights. You know, it's just so much hate in their hearts. Right? It's. Do you want to start with that one, or I mean, I know, right? Well, yeah, I think it's just silly. Like I tried to explain this to people, and they didn't get it. They didn't get that. It's just something silly. Like these people, they're doing this to get you angry to show that it's not really about inclusivity. It's really about this one group being more than another, perhaps. And I don't think it's everybody, but it's these people that went there to protest this thing, and they try to cover their anger and their actions through, well, these guys are white supremacists. Well, if they were doing white supremacist type things or Nazi type things, the news would be all over it. You know, this would be like front page for weeks. If one, if there was one guy throwing like a Nazi salute, this would be everywhere, everywhere. Uh, that's just that one. Like that's the flag. No, the straight pride flag is the male symbol and the female symbol on like it's like pink and blue. Well, it's pink and blue because that's boy and girl, right? So, uh, subtle. You want some creativity in there? Yeah. Well, somebody. I mean, I saw somebody, I don't know who it was, but they posted a picture of this flag, like two people holding this flag, and they said that the straight pride flag looks gay as hell. And I think that's part of the joke, though. That's part of the joke, I think. It's like, this isn't, the people who put this on are super happy, fun America. They're not like, a super serious organization. Right. Well, it's not even that. I think they're just trying to say, the most innocuous thing, like it's okay to be straight, or like you said, it's well, right. This is like trolling IRL. Like they're part of the goal, I think, is just to be funny and have a good time, and then part of it, I think, too, is to expose, is just be like satirical about it and to expose like the hypocrisy of the tolerant people. So right, that's the message, but people don't understand that. And I wish, and they're trying to cover it up by, well, these people are the untouchables. These are the people we don't want in society. These are the exiles that are doing this. So don't pay attention to these people. They hate. Well, tangent for a second, like the whole well, I'm trying to just like formulate my thoughts because I was thinking about this. I do a lot of thinking. Uh the whole, like, there should be no hate, or we oppose hate. Like, I know it's been said before, but it's like, hate is a human emotion. And so, like, it's part of the human experience. So it's okay to hate. I don't think people should try to hate somebody. Uh, but it's like a feeling. You can't just be like, well, I'm going to switch over to my hate feeling, right? It's like an emotion. It's something you can't really control necessarily. You can control your actions, uh, like when you experience that feeling of hate, but you can't be like if I saw like somebody committing the crime of pedophilia, I would hate that person. Or if I see somebody like hitting a child or kicking a dog or something, it's like I feel immediate like hate. And that's okay, but it's how you respond. Yeah, it's so Well, even most of the people there don't want to do that, right? Because it's not like, well, they're fine with other people doing it. That's one of my big problems with Antifa, and that was one of the big problems I had when they showed up at Berkeley and chased Milo out of off campus. Essentially, is that people would go and break a window, and instead of people being like, "Holy shit! Like, what the hell am I doing here? This is getting out of control," or like, "I need to stop this person," or "I need to leave," they cheered. And so that, to me, that means that they're at least okay with that happening, even if they don't want to commit it themselves, which I hate to use biblical language, but it would also be sort of like a sin, you know? It's not cool. How about that? It's just not cool. So, I mean, if I were at a Patriot Prayer rally or one of these, like a Proud Boy rally, and I saw them just grab somebody and start beating the shit out of them, like, I'd try to break it up, and then I probably wouldn't ever go to another one of those rallies. I'd probably try to leave as soon as possible. Like, this isn't cool. Like, we can't do this. Or if they started like attacking the police or burning cars or whatever. Well, the proud Well, I mean, yes and no. It's hard to bar people from your events when it's open to the public. You know, you don't have someone taking tickets. Essentially, it's not like a concert. Um, right. I mean, if you have the resources and the manpower, you can do it. But I know a lot of the Patriot Prayer stuff, just that is peaceful, does not get reported. Like, nobody sees it. Like, they marched in Portland around the courthouse 7 times because it's in the Bible, I guess. uh, with American flags in Portland. And did you hear about it? I mean, the only reason I heard about it is that they posted it in the Facebook group. Like, nobody, right? If it bleeds, it leads, sort of thing. Yeah, and yeah, we all have our beef with the media, but they're feels like they're looking to be biased. Like, yeah. I mean, they probably don't think they're being biased. They think they're being honest. Well, some of them probably do. There are good reporters, but um, right. But I think that they purposely mislead, like, they purposely bend the truth. Like, I've seriously been contemplating starting like a blog where all I do is I take an article and I just break it down and just expose like all the bias and editorializing in like a supposed legitimate journalistic article that's not like an opinion piece. Just because, like, doing this show, and when I do like the show notes and the research the articles and read through them, every time I'm reading through them, in the show notes, I write like my personal opinion. Sometimes I'm like, no, like you can't call these, like in this article here about the straight pride parade, they call them counter protesters, the people, the Antifa people, and yeah, the straight pride parade wasn't a protest though. Like they're like it makes it sound like, oh, these people are protesting something, and then yeah, like it it gives it a slant. Like these are counter protesters. They're countering hate, I guess. It would be because if you asked, because it makes it seem like the straight pride people are protesting something. And so the next logical thing will be like, well, what are they protesting? And then if you go ask them, like, what are you protesting? And they'll look at you like, well, what do you mean? Like, because I've been asked this before when I went to Patriot prayer rallies. It's like, well, what are you protesting? And I was like taken aback because I didn't think about it, but I didn't really think of it as a protest. I just thought of it as like a rally. Like we wanted to support free speech. We're not protesting anything. Uh, right. I mean, if you want to, but like even that is still like a little bit of a stretch. Um, but this, it's like they're counter protesters. Well, what are they? What are the people? That means the straight pride parade are protesters, right? Logically. Well, what are they protesting? Well, they're saying straight pride, so they must be protesting gay pride. That's kind of like the logical linkage that your brain will probably make, and you probably wouldn't even know it. Right. I don't think they do. They're being inclusive, and the straight pride is not, for reasons. Well, right. If you're not doing something they like, it's hateful. Well, yeah, this is something that I've noticed with social media too. Like for me personally, is that if I start getting angry when I'm on Facebook by reading articles, then I know I need to take a break. Turn this shit off, you know? And I think I don't think we know social media and like even the internet to some extent is still so new in the human experience that we don't know how to deal with it, like on an individual level, on a community level, on a national level, on an international level. Like it's so new and it's so, I guess, chaotic, or it's like the frontier, you know? It's just out there, and we just don't know how to deal with it. Like what is the right limits, and who should set those limits, and how much should we allow what we allow to be there. Yeah. Well, I think that they need to be figured out for individuals. Like I was saying, if I start feeling like I'm getting angry, I need to put my phone away and, you know, go do the dishes or something. Go for a walk. Right. you would you would yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's there's so much information and so much, I guess, entertainment and everything that we don't have any sort of rules of dealing with it because we don't necessarily understand what all the problems are either. So I think it will get solved. Like the problem will work itself out, especially if you take like an evolutionary perspective on it that this is just a new environment and we'll adapt. Um, but things are going to change, and so yeah. Anyway, we should get back to the article. Uh, right. So this article that we're talking about here it happened. This is after the parade when Antifa members, or I'm calling them protesters. That's what I wrote in here. They're not counter protesters because the Straight Pride Parade was not a protest. They're just protesters. These people are protesting straight pride. That's what they're doing. I think that's a more accurate description of what they were doing. Uh, yes. So Judge Richard Sinnott, he refused to follow Sino. We'll go with that. He refused to follow uh, the county district attorney, Suffolk County District Attorney Rachel Rollins. So she's the prosecutor in this case. So she's the one that's supposed to be charging these guys with these crimes. She requested to dismiss these charges, a lot of them. There were 36 protesters arrested for things like disorderly conduct and assault of a police officer and stuff like that. Right. And so she filed an emergency petition to the Massachusetts Supreme Court asking to essentially overturn Sino's uh, ruling, I guess. But he actually did dismiss a few of these things. He said he decided to drop 2 of the 16 protesters, and he decided to drop 7 more on Wednesday at the request of prosecutors. So it's not like he's being a hard ass on this, but he's saying like these people need to be held accountable, and they're like, no, these people don't need to be held accountable. You can't do this. So the the district attorney, she said, quote, the actions of Judge Richard Sinnott are unprecedented and outrageous. His insistence on arraigning individuals when my office has used its discretion to decline a case is an unconstitutional abuse of his power and serves neither the interest of justice nor public safety, which I disagree with. Right. So she said, the power to pursue prosecution falls exclusively on the executive branch, not the judiciary. And so, like, to me, this is This is the problem with society today. That sounds like a crazy thing to say, but let me clarify. Uh, I will not trust a system with people who are entrusted with executing the rules and laws of that system that get to pick and choose what they enforce. That's what this seems like to me. Right. A parade. This is a parade, man. These people hate parades. Yeah, me neither. I don't know how much. I mean, I do agree that there needs to be some prosecutorial discretion. I get that, but how much is too much discretion? And I think the judge has a right to challenge that and be like, no, they broke the law. Like they need to be held accountable. You need to do your job. You can't just let people off because you agree with them. And she stated in the past that she wants to. She ran on a platform of being. She's a Democrat, which we can get to. Uh, sh- she's a Democrat. Yeah, this is my shocked face. But she ran on a platform of like softer justice for drug offenses, like low level drug offenses and whatnot, and the low level things. Uh, right, I'm fine with that too, but this isn't that. This is something, and we'll get to it. Right, they weren't playing Halo in their basement smoking pot and got arrested. This they were out there like they yelled Nazi scum at the straight pride marchers, and it said most of the arrests happened after the rally as police tried to disperse the crowd of protesters so that they could reopen the streets. So I think this is a great tactic for people on the right or people, I guess, people, I don't want to just say people on the right, but people opposed to the far left, let's say that, people for freedom of speech and all that good stuff, is to have these protests or rallies or whatever and just have them be quick, an hour, maybe 2 hours, go in, say your piece, disperse. Because then these Antifa guys, they show up and they want to be there all. They want this to be an all-day event. They want people to occupy the streets. They want to start a communist revolution. And so you go in, you say your thing, people quickly forget about that, and then they see these people being lunatics blocking streets and disrupting their lives. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I saw Tim Pool's video on that. Right. Well, yeah, she was held in contempt of court for interrupting the judge and was detained for 3 hours. That's what I wrote it in the notes. Right. And so the prosecutors, they wanted to dismiss the cases that involve nonviolent charges, which I kind of get, but we'll get to their justification in just a second. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know what they were. I mean, and then defendants with no prior criminal records. Like that one is like, sorry, if they had a violent charge and no criminal record, it's like this needs to go on your record because these are the people that fall through the cracks that go take a gun and shoot people that think that violence is okay. I mean, that's like a big stretch, but like they need to know that that's not okay. Like to me, violence is the ultimate violation of like another person's rights. And there is acceptable times where the use of force is necessary, but for the most part, it's not okay. Yeah, so Sinha argued that Super Happy Fun America could be considered victims in this case. Um, so the article, if you're looking at the article right now, they put victims in scare quotes. Do you see that? Um, which I think is absurd thing to do because this is like his argument is this is what he's saying. You don't need to put victims in scare quotes because it delegitimizes his argument because it's like, oh, they're victims. That's when you put things in quotes like that, that's the voice I read it in. That just might be me, but that I don't know. But he's saying they could be considered victims because their rights to free speech was impeded by the protesters using loud megaphones to shout over the rally. And he also accused prosecutors of not complying with the Victim Rights Act by failing to notify them of their decision to drop the charges. I did, yeah. They just turned their sirens on. It's like, right. Yeah, they're just chilling on their motorcycles. Yeah, and so he also argued that um, the police could be potential victims and questioned whether the prosecutors reached out to them to let them know they were going to drop the charges too, because there were some of them that did attack the police. Um, so Rollins filed an emergency petition on behalf of a defendant, one of the defendants, which to me is crazy that a prosecutor is trying to get a defendant off. Like that's the defense attorney's job. Right. That was my contention there too. It's like, right, he needs to be held responsible for his actions. He's an adult. He did what he did. He well, it's like if you it just seems like well, any rules other than our rules are oppression to them. Like, well, these people are going to have to suffer. They're going to have to, like, if you have to do something that's hard or something that's difficult or something that makes your life, uh, like, makes you have to work harder or more difficult life, that's a bad thing to these people. And sometimes it is, but sometimes, having something like taking responsibility to do something difficult and overcoming that makes you a much better person and makes you stronger in the long run. Like they think, well, these are going to have to suffer from having a criminal record. They're going to have to suffer from having a child, so they should be able to have an abortion. They're going to suffer. It's like, look, you can't, like, life is suffering. It's an inevitable part of life. You can hate it. You can hate it. You can not like it, but it's life is so much better. Life is 100% better when you accept that fact that life is suffering. You address it directly. That okay, there are going to be times in my life where bad shit happens, and I need to be equipped to deal with it. So, what is the bad shit that can happen? What's the bad shit that is going to happen? Like at some point, you're going to lose a loved one. That's a fact of life. Like your parents are going to die. Everybody you know is going to die. Well, what do? You're going to die, right? And so, what are you going to do? Are you just going to plug your ears and stomp your feet and say that's not fair and hope that it goes away because it's not? Or are you going to say, okay, that's going to happen. I'm going to address this directly. What can I do? Like, if I die, what do I want to happen? Do I want my family to be taken care of? Okay, what do I need to do that? I need to get life insurance. I need to save some money. I need to not accrue so much debt. I need to take responsibility for myself so that others don't have to take care of me and that I can actually help people take care of themselves. Like, it's, yes, no. Oh, yeah. Tu sais, Smollett, that French actor. So what happened with him? Right. Well, they're complaining. They're now in the position of complaining that they did their job too hard. It's always like, oh, the police don't care about black people. They don't put enough time and resources into their cases. They ignore them. And now it's like, whoa, you're doing a little too much there. It's like, okay, where's the balance then? You right. Yeah, there is a that's too much, but this case, especially with him like he made it worse by going to the media and making a big deal out of this. Like that's what he wanted. And so he made a big deal out of this, and so they had to respond in kind and treat it as if it was a big deal. Because if they didn't, then they get, charges with, oh, the police are racist, the police don't care, they're bad, evil people. It's like, okay, like what do you want? What do you want? Like there's no pleasing some people. Yeah. But I fought back. I don't trust I don't trust actors when they cry. Sorry. They can they can cry on demand. Like if he's crying, I'm not like, "Oh my god." It's like you're an actor. You get paid to manipulate people's emotions on some level, not like in a bad way. Like you're doing it for entertainment purposes. That's totally fine. Like you're telling a story, you're trying to make people get engaged in the story and you manipulate their emotions. I wouldn't even call it manipulate because that's a little bit harsh, but I can't think of I can't think of a better way of phrasing that. They play on people's emotions, I guess would be a better way. Well, yeah, like anymore, it's like, oh yeah, right. Some like if Mike Pence were to come out and be like, "Yeah, I didn't do that," I probably would believe that guy. But like Donald Trump or Bill Clinton, it's like, look, you might as well just admit you did it. Come on. Well, yeah, people are gonna believe what they want to believe. So, well, yeah, that's the thing. Like the people, the people, the people on the left, uh, they think that the people on the right view right wing presidents the way they view left wing presidents. Like they think that they believe they're the greatest person ever and they're the moral guide for they're the pope essentially. They're the elected pope. That's the progressive view. Yeah. Well, did he did he give him a C minus now or did he give him a C minus when he was president? Okay. Well, because yeah, I mean, there definitely are contingents on both sides that are members of the cult of personality, I guess. Like Trump has that for sure. There are definitely people that are like he can do no wrong. You get some of those people, but there are people that are on the other side that were that way too. But you always get those people, you know. Well, yeah, well, yeah. Well, I even like my I don't know. I really want to say like who she is. Okay, but I had a family member say that very same thing to me. Well, there were no scandals when Obama was in office, or the worst scandal was he wore a tan suit. It's like, I'm like, do you really like? I just kind of, I mean, we were at like a funeral at the time, but so I just let it go. But I was thinking about it later, and I'm like, well. No, like, did you not like Benghazi was under President Obama. I know Hillary took a lot of heat for that. Um, right, and then Fast and Furious and the IRS thing, and there are a few more that are escaping me right now, but well, yeah, and then all all the drone strikes, he drone striking American citizens abroad, so extrajudicial killings, which if Trump did that, that would, I mean, that would probably end his presidency. Right. Right. We've all seemed to forgot about that. Really. Well, yeah, we all can be. So, speaking of petty, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors has labeled the NRA a terrorist organization. That's like the height of like pettiness. Well, right. It's They passed a resolution on Tuesday labeling the NRA a domestic terrorist organization and urged other cities and federal governments to do the same. It's like, well, what criteria? So, to me, the most shocking thing about right, the most shocking thing about this are these quotes from these people. Like, I don't know who this lady is, Catherine Stefani. I think she's on the board of San Francisco Board of Supervisors, which is like the city council, I think. Um, she said, quote, the NRA has it coming to them, and quote, I will do everything I possibly can to call them out on what they are, which is a domestic terrorist organization. Like, okay, so first, there's so much wrong with this. Uh, the NRA, what the NRA really is a civil liberties organization. Probably one of the oldest in our country because the Second Amendment is a civil liberty. It's enumerated in the Constitution of the United States. So we've reached the point where advocating for your civil liberties makes you a domestic terrorist organization or domestic terrorist. So I get, according, so I wonder if these people would say that if you have a concealed carry permit, that's a domestic terrorist license. I have two, so I'm like a super domestic terrorist. Oh man, that that that's a hate list I want to be on. Well, also like tangent again. Uh, the I've seen it come out a lot, like where like Julian Castro released the list of Trump donors and those Will and Grace actors who shall remain nameless because who the fuck cares about them want uh, people going to a Trump donation, like a Trump fundraiser. They want the guest list published so they can essentially blacklist them. Like that. Right. Thank you for being sane and a decent human being for once. Right? Like the future. Well, it's just you do all these terrible things because these people support Trump. What happens in 6 years when he's no longer president? These people are still going to remember that you were a jerk to them. Like that's not going to go away. So I have two feelings on that sort of thing. Like one, it's like don't do this shit. Come on, like you're only doing it for a couple of reasons. One, to get your name out there, so you're doing it for selfish, dare I say, greedy reasons. And then two, you're doing it for in order to get these people harassed or at least to destroy these individuals on some level. Like you don't want them, you essentially want to exile them from your community. That's what you want. Isn't you think that's a good thing to do to fellow citizens, people who you need to rely on to grow your food or to fix your car or to uh, do all the other functions of society that we all require of each other to do? Then we all have to trust each other to do well so that we can all enjoy the great civilization that we've built together. Well, let's go to Taiwan or what? Hong Kong? Yeah, start our own freedom cause. I actually like this idea. I'm on board. Well, yeah, like that's what's so funny about the Muslim Muslim people or the Islamic people. They're like probably some of the most conservative people on the planet. Like, I mean, not all of them, like, but they're they're concerned. Like, they won't even wear like the women don't wear clothes that show anything but their eye. Like some of them show anything but their eyes or face. Like they have to be like if that's not super conservative, I don't know what is. Yeah, that like the whole like my second opinion on this is that personally, if I were to be going to one of these events, say I had the money to afford to go to a Trump benefit dinner or whatever, right? Like, well, it's not even that. Like, they're usually like it costs money to get into these things, like $100 or whatever a plate. Oh God, hell, I don't know, man. That's more than I make probably in a year, something. Right? Like, that better be some good ass fucking chicken or whatever. That, that better be bottomless steak and bottomless fries and an open bar. And I don't even drink. I would just get for $100,000 a plate, like bottomless steak. Come on. It's not like how much could a person could not eat that much steak physically. Well, these are rich people anyway, so they probably won't even eat steak. I don't know. Or they'll eat like half of a steak. You don't ever there's a reason you don't ever see like super rich people at the buffet. Well, typically buffet food isn't the best, but there's unlimited. And so hunger is the best spice, in my opinion. But if I were able to go to one of these dinners or whatever, these fundraisers, which I would, if you're listening, Donald Trump, I would go, but I can't afford that much money. Uh, I would openly, like, and someone called for my name to be published, I would just state that I'm going because I don't give a shit anymore. I've reached that level. It's like, yeah. I mean, I wore a MAGA hat for a month straight. Like, it, it's out, man. Fucking delicious. I've always wanted to eat steak and gold. Something just seems wrong about eating a heavy metal. Just saying. It's well, I'm sure it is, but it's probably not like nutritious. You're fucking gold-plated turds, man. When you I just shit gold. Come on, right? You drink you yeah. We have rich people in the chat. I mean, they could be, but just from the knowledge that we share. We we are not going to do that, but we could if we just listen to ourselves. Yeah, that'll get us that'll get us listening to our own podcast now. So, yeah, back to the NRA. Yeah. So the resolution, which I didn't right, I didn't actually look up the resolution. Yeah, I didn't read like the actual text that they passed. I think it was in the article. I just didn't have time to read it. But there was a line in there that they quoted in the article, and it said, "The NRA musters its considerable wealth and organizational strength to promote gun ownership." Great. Yep. Perfect. Nothing wrong with that. And incite gun owners to acts of violence. That's my response to that. So, like, as far as I know, and the NRA does not incite or promote acts of violence because they promote gun ownership. And if they're promoting or inciting acts of violence, like they like to say, well, after one of these shootings, people go out and buy a shitload of guns. So it's like, well, partially that's true, but they're not going out and buying guns because they're being incited to acts of violence or because they see acts of violence. But they're going out and buying guns probably for a couple reasons. One, they want to protect themselves from these sort of acts of violence, not commit them. And two, they think you're going to come and take all the guns away. And so they're like, well, shit, I better go get one now. Plus, guns are cool. Right. So I don't think it's not the NRA whipping these people up to buy more guns.
Good morning, I'm Kenny.
It's the people trying to take away their guns that are doing it. It's the people that are lying about this. It's these people that say that the NRA is a terrorist organization that are causing people to go buy guns. It's not the NRA. Is it super long? Dang, I probably should have read that. It's probably super cringeworthy. Do you want to read some of it? Hold on. 36,000 deaths due to gun violence. But like how many of those are suicides? Like that. Well, no, I don't think these people know jack shit, but that statistic needs to be drilled down on a bit more because that's false. Or it's at least being presented sounds good. I don't have the ability to fact check so much. Yeah, I missed that. So like if you what is substantial damage to property? So like if you get into a car accident, like is that terrorism? Says in part as the use of any any Like, what did they leave out in there? Yeah. So like terrorism has a coercive element to it. It's not just hurting people. You have to be hurting people in order to coerce others into something. So Antifa is a terrorist organization. So yeah. Right. Well, let's continue reading this resolution. Let's get through that. Right. According to who? Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe some of like a lot of the membership doesn't support red flag laws. Me neither. Right. They don't give they don't give people guns. Uh, they sell. They have NRA merch. Uh, they sell training essentially. Like they don't. I don't think they necessarily sell firearms. They may raffle them off possibly, but I think. But it does say through its advocacy has armed those individuals, which is very broad term. It's and large capacity magazines in California. I mean, I my gun, my concealed carry weapon has a 15 capacity magazine, which to me is like is perfect. Is like the amount you need. Is 15 is a good amount, you know, because you could miss. Yeah, I would consider 1,000 rounds high capacity. I think that that seems fair. But this is interesting. Like this is because I don't think you won't get this anywhere else, folks. You won't get somebody else to drill down this much on an actual resolution. It's just you'll see the news article, they take one clip out of it, out of this 3-page resolution, which does make it seem crazy. And you go read the rest of it, and it's equally or more crazy than that one clip. See, I would consider that like a large or a high capacity. Like 15 or 10, that's not high capacity. That's not large capacity to me. Right. I guess for me, the cutoff would probably be around like, I don't know, 30 to 50 would be somewhere where I would do that'd be freaking no, because it probably there's nowhere to attach it, I don't think. And then that would be just get us banned from YouTube for showing guns. For showing assault magazines. How dare you? Right, there's a delay, but like I don't know. Like, what does a resolution do? It just says that we're stupid people. We are stupid. We'll sign this piece of paper. No. Oh, here it goes. Here we go. Oh yeah, I'm getting one of those. That would just make it impossible to conceal carry. Just looks like you got big balls. Yeah, that would be fun to like shoot out at the range or something, but like it's like fun as a novelty thing, I think. In my opinion. All right, I stand corrected. Okay, so the gun deaths, I looked it up. So this is a Time magazine article I looked up, and they're citing the CDC, the Center for Disease. Yeah, one sec. But essentially, they're saying that there's around 40,000 gun deaths. So their numbers are accurate. But when you break it down, I sent it to you on Facebook. It says in here, of the nearly 40,000 who died by firearms in 2017, 23,854 people, or 60%, committed suicide by using a gun. 60. 60. So the majority. Right. Well, it's 23,854 is the number they give. Right? Like you nailed it. Well, right. And so they also go on to say that uh, the age adjusted rate of suicide by gun was highest among white men, and it's older white men too. Right? These old white patriarchal men are just offing themselves. They should be celebrating. Um, so they do say in here that there is a misperception that people mistakenly assume that gun violence is predominantly an issue facing young men and men of color, where actually homicide deaths by gun were highest among black men in 2017 compared to other demographics. And that number does not take into account that overall most firearm deaths are suicides, which by and large affect middle-aged and elderly white men. So it says the general perception is that it's not an old white guy problem, but that it's more of a crime issue, according to this guy, one of the researchers, I think. Yeah, this just seems like most of these, according to the Centers of Disease Control and Time Magazine, that a lot, like over half, well over half, like what is that? It's like 2/3 are suicides. And so it has nothing to do with people owning guns or hurting other people or hate. It's a mental illness thing or whatever. You know, you have to look at the reasons why they're committing suicide. It's not, I don't think you'd be like, well, if they didn't have a gun, then there would be less suicides. That's addressing the symptom, not the cause. Right. Like even like here's a phrase from that Time article. It says, I don't know who this person is. David M. Studdard, a health law policy expert and professor at Stanford University. He says, quote, the chances of dying of suicide by gun are very high. It's like, what? Like the chances? Like it just chances upon you? That's a weird way of phrasing it. It's like, oh, you have a chance of dying of suicide by gun. There's a chance. It's like, suicide isn't a matter of chance, in my opinion. Like, well, that just means that men are better at getting the job done. Little dark humor. Little dark humor there for you guys. Yeah, it goes on to talk a lot about suicide and see if it says anything more about. The NRA did push back against doctors who spoke out against gun violence to quote stay in their lane. I think that has more to. Yeah, and they said quote gun control laws are not the answer. Yeah, I think that has more to do with them being more general and deceptive about it instead of saying like they're saying, well, there's all this gun violence and so we need more gun laws. It's like, no, that's not the right answer because a lot of these are suicides. You need to address the reason why people are committing like why do people feel like they need to commit suicide? Like that's if someone wants to commit suicide, like sure a gun makes it quick and easy, but it doesn't take away that feeling of wanting to do it. And so that the underlying cause is still there. And I don't know why a doctor would not want to address the underlying cause. That just doesn't seem like a. Right. Right. Well, it seems like their problem is that guns are more efficient. The efficiency. Right. Yeah, they're right. Hmm. No, I didn't see any of that in that article. I, I imagine it's probably shockingly high. But let's look this up and then we'll go on to the Walmart story. Right. That's dang it. Right. Yeah. And I mean, I guess it's just that it's so final. It's such like a final thing. But speaking of guns, so Walmart has reversed their policy, I guess, their business plan of, yeah, it has, because guns are awesome. Sure. Right. 3 or more people. Yeah, these are all like propaganda statements, essentially. Like, well, that doesn't make them not propaganda if they just believe it. Yeah, exactly. They did a background check and all that good stuff. Well, and like this is a resolution. But to me, like this is a like so it doesn't carry the weight of law necessarily. But they did say at the end that they're going to try to prevent businesses and people who are associated or do business or have contracts with the NRA to not do that. So they're to me this is a form of tyranny essentially. If they're taking it to that level, they're saying, look, you as we're we're essentially making it more difficult for you to freely associate with somebody, and we're going to punish you for doing so. Right. All right, how do I join the NRA? That's right. Yeah, it's great. You should check out our website. Right. Like, I've always wanted to be a domestic terrorist. Oh yeah. We'll probably never have monetization. Come on. I'm surprised they even let us have a YouTube channel, to be honest. They probably have. We're probably like a shadow band, but that's why we don't have that many subscribers. So we need you guys to like and subscribe and share because YouTube won't. Yeah, as long as you comment. Right. Well, I think like one of the reasons you see like Facebook and Google pushing to have government regulation come in, because normally I thought like businesses don't normally like that. They don't want that. I think part of the reason we're seeing that is because big businesses like that because it pushes out all their competitors. And so I think Google and Facebook understand that they're the big fish. And if these regulations and what come in, they can afford it, but their competitors can't. And so they see that they're not doing as well as they used to, or that maybe there might be problems in the future. And so they're trying to hedge their bets against competition by using the force of government regulation to push out their business. It's just an opinion. That's just my opinion. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, I don't think they do. I think you have to go to like a licensed gun dealer or something. Or I mean, you can buy ammo at like, well, not Walmart anymore, but they actually still do sell some ammo at Walmart. But you can go to we have a store here locally called Buymart, and like, bless you, they're like the kind of local, I guess, kind of like an older timey store kind of thing. Kind of like I don't know. It's hard to describe what it is because they have groceries and they have like a lot of camping stuff and a lot of like a GI Joe's, I guess, would probably be closer. So they do carry ammo and guns and stuff. I just don't know anybody that's really into guns that would go to like a Walmart or a Buymart to purchase one. They know of like gun dealers or they go to gun shows or good good news. Right. You're doing what I like. That's okay. I'm writing timestamps. But so yeah, Walmart they made a decision to discontinue sales of short barrel rifle ammunition such as the 223 and the 5.56 caliber. And they're also not selling handguns anymore, I believe. They stopped selling like pistols in all their stores except for in Alaska because people in Alaska are badass, I guess. More responsible? I don't know. I don't know what the decision there was. Anyway, but they stopped selling them in Alaska now. Well, right. It's like this is a get woke go broke sort of thing. Like, do they understand like who the people? Most of the people that probably shop at Walmart are pro Second Amendment people. I mean that's definitely overgeneralizing, or they just don't care. But I think you don't get the gun control crowd people shopping at Walmart. They're more of a Whole Foods or whatever, Trader Joe's. um, yeah, I go to it's called Winco. It's like a poor man's Costco or Sam's Club. Uh, that's right. I go to Costco too, actually. But anyway, we don't have Walmart around here. Like the closest Walmart is like a half-hour drive from where I live. We have them in Oregon. There's one in Portland. Shocking. Um, and then there's one in a town called Forest Grove, and it's like a 30-45 minute drive from where I live. But in the suburb area, there isn't really a lot. There's no Walmart. There's some grocery Walmarts, but yeah. Well, that's just the state of Oregon too. So there's trees everywhere. Yeah, that's like a 30-minute drive from where I live. Oh, I love it, man. I think it's great. Yeah, people from the middle of the country when they kind of like we had a guy move here from I think Colorado or something, and it's like he lived like in the plains states, so it's like super open and you can see forever. He comes here, yeah, he said the same thing. Like when he moved into the valley, he's like it's like claustrophobic. You can only see for like a couple miles. It's like if that, if that, yeah. And it's like yeah, well, yeah. I mean that's there's a lot of trees and it's past those trees. Dude, in the summer though, it's so nice. All the shade. The shade is good. Well, if you want to be in the sun, like Portland's there, you go to Portland. Uh, but if you get out, if you go outside of Portland, like in the suburbs, like in the town center area, there's less trees, but typically we have trees growing along the either like the center of the road or on the side of the road. And then if you get outside of the metro area, like the urban area, it's like you said, 2-lane highways or freeways through forests are pretty common. This side of the mountains. If you go to Eastern Oregon, it's more like a high plains, like high desert sort of thing. But yeah, man, it's pretty cool. Just Forest Grove is that way, though. It is very rural, very. There's a lot of farms out there, so there's not necessarily tons of trees. They grow. There's a lot of wineries. There's a lot of different things they grow out there. But if you go into like the town of Forest Grove, like even the college, they have a college there. It's got a shitload of trees. It's a very small college though. But anyway, you should go to, I think it's Pacific University. It's in Forest Grove. It's great. A lot of conservatives over there. You'll love it. um, well, if you have like a college in a conservative town, then you'll have like progressives in the college and then conservatives all around it. So you get kind of a centrist balance, I think. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think we've covered everything. You can't open carry in Walmart either. Um, though that's not a like a hard policy. It says that going forward, store managers will have the discretion to decide how to handle situations where shoppers open carry inside their stores. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. Well, Oregon, I think the way it would work is that Walmart is a private business and is private property, and so they can ask you to leave pretty much for whatever reason they want. Right? Boo. Though there is an argument there that it's open to the public, and so some rules are fine. Right, right. They can ask you to leave. So, and then if you don't, it's trespassing at that point. That's what I was told when I took my concealed handgun class. Is if somebody sees you, if you're in a somewhere and they see your gun and they ask you to leave, you have to leave. Like it's you don't just. Well, some guy did that at a Walmart and caused a panic. Remember, like right after the El Paso shooting. Yeah, he had like a rifle and body armor on, I think, and people were freaked out. Right? It's like you're if you have a rifle, like you could say, and it was an assault rifle. Uh, it was one of the scary black rifles, you know. I think I didn't look too into it. Just paint their guns yellow. Well, then you'd get the criticism that they look like toys, toy guns. Right. So yeah, that's all the stories that we had. Do you have anything else? No, I want to. Well, I think we pretty much covered that. That's pretty. I don't think there's a lot more there, but we can cover more of the Brexit stuff as we get closer, because that's happening next month, I think. Right? Like it's like, well, we want this deal Brexit. No. Well, we want this deal Brexit. No. Well, how about, well, fine then, no deal Brexit. Well, maybe we shouldn't Brexit. It's like, well, that's what you wanted this whole time. So you don't get a say anymore because we already decided that's what we're doing. You don't get to sabotage the effort just because you didn't want to do it in the first place. It's either get on board or get out of the way. Get to fight or get out of the way. Me too. I talked to somebody at work who was like, I don't think he's for Brexit. I think he's not really like super into politics, but I haven't felt out his political position yet. So I don't really talk to him too much about politics. But he was like, well, they need to like make sure that they do it right. And I'm like, that sounds like a Remainer position. Yeah. Well, if everybody were working towards the goal of actually Brexiting, they just were arguing about how they wanted it done. But it just seems like the people that didn't want the Remainers are they're not interested in leaving. They want to prevent it from happening by dragging their feet. No. Well, yeah, I think they were hoping the other side would just get tired and eventually cave. But like good adults, they were like, no, we're not giving you the damn cookie. You can cry your head off, but you don't get a cookie. All right, that's a wrap, guys. We will see you next week for your favorite YouTube morning show with weekly wrap with the USA Liberalists. So have a good weekend, guys, and peace out.